good. So once we look at something and label it, we're no longer seeing it. We've decided already what it is. We're in our left brain, we're interpreting, deciding if we like it or not, if it's pretty or ugly, good or bad, right or wrong, and all that business. But if you look and just stay with the looking and don't go anywhere with it, then your aperture of the right brain, it moves rather slowly. The movement, the information coming in about what's actually there moves rather slowly. It's like this. Right brain is slower than the left brain. I don't know if that's actually true, but we tend to notice it moving kind of like that. You know, information kind of comes like it dawns on us. It's not like this in-your-face information like obvious sometimes. And it might just be the habit of mind being so quick to thinking about things that in comparison to that, because we haven't allowed ourselves to just be with things, that it feels slower. But it's definitely quieter. You know, there's not this going on. So in the quiet mind, in the open focus, I use that word to describe seeing in a less contracted manner. We're not really locking down and isolating and labeling something like an apple, a bubble, right? We're allowing ourselves to see the apple and bowl together. We're opening up the vision to see two things simultaneously as one. That's what I call open focus. So that's the new bit. Because when we're looking at something, we're not moving, and we're looking at something that's not moving, our tendency is to implode into it, basically. You end up diving into it, and all your attention goes into the object, and it's over there somewhere. So what I'm saying is, no, let's come back over here and open up and see from back here, from almost like going back behind your eyeballs, further back rather than moving forward in front of your eyeballs. You're pulling back and opening up your attention, and you're actually not looking at anything. So if you kind of waved your hand in front of my face when I was drawing something, it wouldn't affect my drawing at all, or my eyes wouldn't move. They'd be like open seeing. I'm seeing everything, and from this vantage point, see how I'm not moving? Right. Now if I looked at something and you did that, I'd go, get out of the way, you know. But I'm actually not over there, isolated. I'm back here, open, seeing everything simultaneously without isolating anything. So that's what we're going for, open focus. Because from that vantage point, you're actually seeing holistically. You can see that you're in the context. You're holding the whole context to see what the parts are doing in relationship to the whole, without ever losing the whole. I mean, that's asking a lot, because we're not used to doing that. That's the new kind of seeing that we're moving towards. And if you're practicing something that moves you towards that, great. You could practice drawing and not be practicing that, and you wouldn't necessarily ever, I don't want to sound like, I mean, you could practice a long time and not really get a whole lot better at making drawings that were really glued together and in a powerful whole.
I see what you're saying, yes.
So you really, if you want the whole drawing to look like it belongs together as one, you have to see that way.
Right.
If you see in isolation, then that you can do a very nice drawing. It can be well rendered, blah blah blah, and it will just kind of leave you cold. It just won't have that integrated, tied together, glued together, holistic sort of feel to it. So one of the things I really want to bring in back into art education is this new. It's this kind of seeing that artists can learn. It's a learned seeing. It's not like you're born with it or can't do it if you're not born with it. It's not like that. It's just training. But it's not what we're used to doing. So that's the new bit. We're not used to seeing when we're still. Now when we're in motion, you see exactly what I'm talking about, this open focus. If you start walking across the room or driving a car or hitting a tennis ball, I mean, you have to be seeing everything simultaneously in relationship, or you would run into the wall, you'd fling your hand and hit something, and you wouldn't brake in time, and you'd go through the red light, and you know, all of that coordination where you're coordinating in 3D, in time and space, you're at risk of hurting yourself, basically, if you don't shift into your right brain, which is the part that sees everything simultaneously and where you are in relationship to it, all at a split, you know, now, right? It's always now. that's kind of what I mean. Now is not really a moment you're in and then out of.
Mm-hmm.
It's always. There's always now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like just allowing yourself to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're drawing, it can happen quite easily. It can happen more, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say, because it's demanding that kind of seeing of you. If you really want to see what's there, you have to commune with it. You have to really open up, allow it, receive it, without any stamp of a label. Label is a bit of a judgment. It's like, oh, I know what that is. Well, you don't have a clue what that is. None of us know what any of this is, It's just, electrons and protons or something, some cosmic soup dancing around that our little receptors extract and create some reality in our head,
Mm-hmm.
But
It's true. Yeah, right. Because you can't really see the little subatomic particles, but that's really what everything is.
It seems
is.
real,
Yeah.
doesn't
Mm-hmm.
it? It all seems really, really real. And I should probably draw this back to art. How this is. Why is this important? This kind of seeing. It's like a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to see what is, and do it service. If you're going to spend time drawing a model, let's do her service and make it look like her beautiful form and her unique qualities that are subtle and different than anybody else, and just see the beauty in that model and do the best we can to come close to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of one reason for doing art, is to capture beauty, and truth. And so the truth of something is what I'm talking about, seeing it truly as it is. That's the truth of the subject matter in front of you. It's a good baseline, starting there. And then, once you can actually see and draw what's there, then if you choose to draw a cartoon version of it or an abstract expressionist, fine. But you're doing it out of choice, not because you really don't know how to do the other
Right.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's that argument of, is this going to kill one's creativity to learn how to draw realistically? I don't think it hurt Rembrandt. Don't think it hurt Picasso. He did fine, he won all the contests by the time he was 15, I think, in Paris for the best drawing, realistic drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was a springboard, into his more creative self-expression that went in a more abstract direction. So I just don't buy that.
Mm-hmm.
That will hurt your creativity. I think it's kind of a cop-out. I can say that. Be so not so humble opinion. Yeah, do what you want to do by choice,
Mm-hmm.
not by limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to draw. It's not that hard. I mean, it's kind of it's hard if you expect it to be something you just pick up overnight. I think drawing does require a good investment of time and focus and deep learning
Mm-hmm.
to get better and better at. And it's sort of you can continue to up the ante, as your drawing skill gets put in place and you start painting, then your painting's going to get better when your drawing gets better, and they'll just keep kind of going up and up together, depending on what you want. You could maybe only require a certain level of expertise in drawing because the kind of painting you do doesn't require that. I would say Monet didn't really draw that well, but he didn't need to paint what he painted.
Mm-hmm.
Little figures far off in a distance. You don't have to do portraiture to pull that off. You just, but you do have to draw the light and shadow shapes quite accurately, and he could do that. So at the very least, we want to be able to draw what is there to create the illusion, especially if you're wanting agreement from other people about what it is you just painted,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But even if you do abstract expressionists, I think we were talking about that, that's still going to be relating parts to a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be, it has to feel like, well, this squiggle relates to that blob relative to this whole. It's
Right.
still the same principles that we're going to learn in the line course are going to apply, and in the tone course, in terms of a composition.
Mm-hmm.
You can compose a beautiful abstract and still infuse into that a realistic drawing. You want both. You want a really well composed design,
Right.
kind of like an armature that you then superimpose the thing the person, the objects.
The apple, the ball.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
The trick is to make sure you're seeing the design element, seeing those things as design elements, and then you figure out the design elements in the composition first.
Got
And
it.
the breakup of the space just as